Giannis Antetokounmpo finds out his first coach was deported and left a final message for him. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. It had been years since Giannis had walked these streets like a regular man, without bodyguards, cameras, or crowds. Athens looked the same, but quieter now. He wore a hoodie pulled low and moved like a shadow through the neighborhood where it all started. The cab had dropped him a few blocks early so he could take the last stretch on foot. He wanted to see if he still remembered the way to the old gym without checking his phone. His sneakers crunched over broken gravel as he stopped in front of the metal gate. Rust streaked the paint like tears down its side. A padlock hung loose but unlatched, like someone had stopped caring a long time ago. Giannis gave it a push. The creak echoed down the alley behind him. Inside, the gym was darker than he remembered, the windows mostly covered in dust or graffiti. Light leaked through broken panes like slices of memory. The floor had warped in places. The rim at the far end still hung there, bent at the front, same as when he left. That wasn't what hit him the hardest, though. It was the smell, the same mix of leather, wood polish, and old sweat. It pulled something out of him that he hadn't felt in years. He walked past the court and into the locker room. Most of the lockers were busted open, like people had ransacked the place after it closed. But one locker, his old one, was still sealed shut. A gentle tug opened it, and inside, it looked untouched. No clothes. No shoes. Just a small envelope wedged at the back, half covered in dust. His name was written on it in Greek. The handwriting was slow, careful. He knew it instantly. Coach Nikos. Giannis just stood there for a second. The air got heavy. Coach Nikos hadn't been in the news. No goodbyes. No word. One day he was just gone. People said he'd moved. Some said he left for work. Others whispered worse. Giannis always figured he'd run into him again. Never happened. He turned the envelope over. No stamp. Just his name. He opened it, hands shaking slightly. The paper was thin, folded over 3 times. One sentence in, his throat tightened. 2 in, and the words started to blur. But before he could finish reading, the sound of a knock echoed from the far end of the gym. Giannis turned fast, instincts sharp. Footsteps. Not heavy, light, cautious. He tucked the letter in his jacket and stepped out. A teenager stood just inside the entrance, squinting toward the court. Skinny, tan, around 14 or 15. Wore beat-up sneakers and a shirt 2 sizes too big. He looked like he belonged to this gym, like the ghost of Giannis' younger self. The boy stared at him for a second, uncertain. "Are you him?" he finally asked. "The guy from the picture in Coach's room?" Giannis nodded slowly. "What's your name?" "Elias," the boy said. "Coach Nikos, he used to talk about you. Said you were the first one who ever believed he could coach." Giannis didn't say anything at first. He looked around the gym. It was hard to believe any of this had survived, even in memory. He gestured to the bench. Elias sat beside him. "Do you know what happened to him?" Giannis asked. The boy nodded. "They took him. One morning. Some officers came to his place. Immigration or something. No one told us where." "How long ago?" 3 years. Giannis closed his eyes for a second. "And the gym?" "Closed after that. Some city law about safety. No money. No one fought for it." Elias rubbed his palms together. "But coach, he didn't stop. He kept training a few of us in secret. In alleys, parks, anywhere." Giannis reached into his jacket and handed Elias the letter. "I think this was meant for me a long time ago. I found it in the locker. He left it for me." Elias didn't touch it, just nodded. "He hoped you'd come back. Said one day, you'd need to remember where you came from." "I think he meant now." Giannis looked down at the letter again. A few sentences stuck in his mind. You were my first student, but never my last. I kept going after you left. Not for fame. For them. He folded it again and stood up. Come with me, he said. They walked out into the late afternoon. Athens buzzed in the distance, but their street felt frozen in time. Elias led him through alleyways Giannis hadn't walked in years. Behind an abandoned warehouse, hidden by metal fencing and overgrown weeds, was a rough square of concrete. No backboard. Just a pole with a rusted rim. This is where we play now, Elias said. Coach built it. Piece by piece. Giannis stared at it. The court looked like it might collapse under real pressure. But there were faded chalk lines on the ground. Sweat marks on the pavement. It had history now. Elias picked up a ball. The leather was cracked, like it had been through a war. He passed it to Giannis. "Want to run?" Giannis smiled, the first real one in hours. "You got 5 more like you?" "We got 8. Tomorrow," Giannis said. "I'm bringing shoes. And food. Tell the others." He paused. Looked around. And Elias. "Coach didn't train you for nothing. This place, what you're doing, it matters." Elias nodded. As they walked away, Giannis looked back at the rim one more time. The gym was gone. But the mission wasn't. Not if he had anything to do with it. Giannis woke up earlier than usual the next morning. His hotel room in central Athens was comfortable, quiet, and expensive, everything the kids he saw last night didn't have. He couldn't stop thinking about that cracked rim, that court built from scraps, that ball that looked more like a memory than a piece of sports gear. The letter stayed folded on the desk. He hadn't finished reading it. Maybe he wasn't ready. Not until he did something first. He made a few calls. Found a local store. Ordered 10 pairs of decent basketball shoes in different sizes. Not flashy, just something that would survive a season of concrete. Then he called another contact, someone from back in the day who still ran a soup kitchen and small gear shop for youth leagues. Giannis asked if he still had leftover gear. Jerseys, cones, a whistle. The man said, "For you? I'll find it all." By early afternoon, Giannis was stuffing the back seat of a borrowed van with shoes, training cones, and 2 boxes of protein bars. He wasn't there to make a scene. He just wanted to show up for those kids the way someone once showed up for him. Elias was already waiting by the court when he arrived. A few of the other boys and girls from the group were scattered around the area. Most were stretching or dribbling with whatever half-popped balls they had. A few looked nervous when they saw the van pull in. They didn't recognize him, not yet. But Elias stepped forward with a grin. "You came back." "Told you I would," Giannis said, tossing him a fresh ball. "Now let's get to work." He opened the van and started handing out shoes. Some of the kids stared at them like they were sacred. "This isn't charity," Giannis said firmly. "This is gear. You don't take care of it, you don't get more. Deal?" They all nodded quickly. Practice started slow. These weren't polished players. Some had never even run drills before. But Giannis wasn't there to scout talent. He was there to spark something. He ran simple passing drills, layup lines, and footwork basics. The kids sweated under the sun, but no one quit. Not even the kid with the heavy limp or the girl who couldn't stop coughing from the dust. In the middle of practice, an older man approached from across the lot. He wore a sport coat despite the heat, and his shoes were too clean for the street. Giannis saw him from a distance and tensed. The man waited until a water break before stepping up. "Mr. Antetokounmpo," he said in a sharp Greek accent. "I'm with the property group handling this block. Just wanted to make you aware, you're technically trespassing." Giannis nodded slowly. Didn't know concrete had a security system. The man gave a tight smile. "The court sits on land scheduled for development. Low-income housing. It's been approved by the city council. This space will be gone in a month. The kids nearby fell silent. Giannis stood still. Calm. Controlled. This court, he said, was built by a man who never asked the city for anything. He just wanted kids to stay out of trouble. The man raised a brow. A noble sentiment. But things move on. I'm sure someone like you understands progress. Giannis didn't respond right away. Then, he nodded toward Elias. That kid's mom works night shifts. His dad disappeared. Basketball's the only reason he doesn't end up in the streets. That progress you're talking about? It erases kids like him. The man didn't blink. Then build them a better court. Somewhere legal. Somewhere clean. Giannis leaned in. I just might. The man handed him a folded paper. A formal notice. 1 week. Then demolition begins. Thought you'd want a heads up. He walked away as if nothing had happened. Practice ended 10 minutes later, but the mood was heavier. Giannis gathered the kids around. They want to tear this place down, he said, not sugarcoating it. 1 week. Nobody said anything. But I'm not giving up, he added. Coach Nikos didn't give up on me. I'm not giving up on you. One of the older boys raised a hand. So what do we do? Giannis took a breath. We play. 1 game. 1 night. We invite people to watch, anyone who wants to see what this court meant. And we play against someone real. Someone who thinks you're not worth the concrete under your feet. Elias looked up. Like a team from the academies? Giannis nodded. Exactly. The kids looked at each other. Nervous. But fired up. Elias spoke first. They think we're trash. We don't even have a team name. Giannis smiled. Then we'll give them one. But you don't need a name to show heart. They all agreed. 1 game. 1 chance. 1 week. After practice, Elias stayed behind while the others left. Giannis sat next to him on a curb near the court. You said Coach Nikos gave you something, Giannis said. Elias reached into his backpack and pulled out an old whistle. It looked used, chipped on the side. He said, if you ever came back, I was supposed to give this to you. Giannis took it carefully. For a long time, he didn't speak. Did he ever say why he left? Elias shook his head. He said it wasn't his choice. That people in suits took him. No warning. Just gone. Giannis looked at the whistle again. He never said goodbye. No, Elias said. But he talked about you like you were still here. Every time we ran drills, he said Giannis started just like this. Like you were still part of it. Giannis pocketed the whistle. Now I am. That night, back in the hotel, Giannis finally opened the letter again. He read it slowly. The last line hit harder than he expected. If you're reading this, you came back. That means I did something right. Pass it on. Not with words, with action. He sat still in the dark for a long time. No TV. No music. Just the city hum outside. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The next morning, Giannis was already moving before the sun cleared the rooftops. He'd sent texts to a couple of people he trusted, no handlers, no press agents, just locals who remembered what that gym used to be. People who didn't need convincing about what Nikos had done for the community. He drove out to the court again, this time with more gear. Training cones, a whiteboard, markers. As he unloaded, he saw Elias already dribbling alone in the center of the cracked concrete. His crossover was tighter than yesterday. More confident. The kid was wired different. You're early, Giannis said. Elias shrugged. Didn't sleep much. Giannis tossed him a protein bar. We got 5 days. That game has to be the best we've ever played. Win or lose doesn't matter if we look like a real team. More kids started arriving, 2 on bikes, a few walking in groups. Some brought younger siblings who sat on the sidelines watching quietly. Giannis counted 15 total. Enough to form 2 squads. Enough to simulate real plays. Not enough to rest. Warm-ups, he shouted. 10 laps, then stretch. They started jogging. One boy limped after 2 laps but refused to stop. A girl rolled her ankle on a dip in the pavement but finished the run. These weren't elite athletes. But they were hungry. Giannis took them through shooting drills, passing sets, then set up a 5-on-5 scrimmage. He didn't coach like a pro. He coached like Nikos. Simple. Real. Make the pass. Move your feet. Protect each other. During a water break, one of the kids asked, "Coach, who are we playing?" Giannis smirked. The EFS Academy. The group went silent. Elias muttered under his breath, "Are you serious?" Giannis nodded. Best youth program in the city. They've got sponsors, private trainers, 3 gyms, and uniforms with their names stitched on the back. You'll be lucky if your shoes last the whole game. But we're not here for luck. Another kid said, "They crushed us 2 years ago. Made fun of us the whole time." "Then don't give them the same team," Giannis replied. "Give them a different one. One that fights back." The group nodded, soaking it in. The tension was real now. They had an opponent. A target. Over the next few hours, Giannis built plays with chalk on the pavement. He explained spacing, how to attack a press, how to protect the ball when you're outmatched. Elias naturally rose as point guard, scrappy, fast, vocal. He wasn't the tallest, but his vision made up for it. "You ever played a real game?" Giannis asked during a break. Elias shook his head. "Only with coach. He never let us join leagues. Said we didn't need validation to be a team." Giannis looked out over the kids. He was right. But this time, we're going to make them see it too. That afternoon, Giannis got a call back from someone he'd messaged earlier. It was Marcos, a local event planner he'd known back when Giannis was just a skinny kid trying to make teams. "You serious about this?" Marcos asked. "I want it low-key. No banners. No press. Just lights, a scoreboard, and one night to show what these kids can do." Marcos laughed. "You sure you don't want TV rights and a halftime show?" "Nope. Just bring the basics. And maybe a food truck." Marcos agreed, half laughing, half impressed. "All right. But you're playing with fire, you know that. EFS doesn't like being embarrassed." "They won't be," Giannis said. "They'll just be reminded that Hart doesn't wear a uniform." He hung up and looked at the court again. Some of the kids were still shooting. Elias was on the sideline sketching a play on an old piece of cardboard. Giannis walked over. "You drawing plays now?" Elias grinned. "Just trying to think like coach." He handed the board over. It was a simple pick-and-roll sequence ending with a kick out to the corner shooter. Smart. Clean. Effective. Giannis nodded. "Run it tomorrow. You call the offense." Elias blinked. "Wait, I'm calling plays?" "You're the floor general. You already earned it." That night, Giannis drove home late. He passed the shuttered gym again. Couldn't help but pull over. The street was quiet. The metal gate hadn't moved. He walked up to the front door and stood in silence. The gym was just a shell now. But inside it, a man once gave everything he had to kids no one believed in. No one except him. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the whistle Elias gave him. It still had that chipped edge. Still felt warm, somehow. He whispered, "I hope you're watching." The next few days were a blur of drills and preparation. Giannis taught the kids how to handle pressure defense. How to box out against taller players. How to rotate fast enough that nobody's ever left alone on an island. The kids responded. Elias became sharper, barking out orders mid-play. The girl who rolled her ankle now hit corner threes like clockwork. The youngest boy, barely 10, chased rebounds like his life depended on it. Then came the EFS response. A coach from the academy sent a message, "We'll come. But only if your team wears something besides street clothes." Giannis didn't flinch. He called Marcos again and arranged for black t-shirts with each kid's first name printed in white. No logos. No brands. Just names. Just identity. The day before the game, Giannis sat the team down after practice. They were covered in sweat, dust clinging to their arms and faces. "No matter what happens tomorrow," he said, "you already won. You showed up. You worked. You didn't quit. That's more than most people do their whole lives." He looked around at each of them. "But tomorrow, you show them who trained you. Not just me. Him." He pointed to the whistle hanging from a nail near the court. The kids all turned toward it. "Quiet. That court is his legacy. You're part of it now." The team broke the huddle, fists in the air. As the sun set, Giannis stood back and watched them scatter into the twilight, talking and laughing. For the first time in days, they didn't look scared. Tomorrow, they'd face kids with cleaner shoes, newer balls, better funding. But what they had couldn't be bought. What they had was passed down from a man who never asked for thanks. And now, his players were ready to be seen. Game day. The sun dropped slow behind the rooftops, casting long shadows over the cracked court. What used to be just a forgotten lot now buzzed with quiet anticipation. There were no banners, no flashing lights, no media trucks. But the street was packed. Locals leaned against walls and fences, whispering about what was coming. Kids on bikes swerved in and out of alleys to get a better look. The makeshift bleachers Marcos rigged from construction planks creaked under the weight of people who hadn't watched a game in years. Giannis stood near the court with his arms crossed. He wasn't wearing anything fancy, just black jeans and the same t-shirt the team wore. White lettering across the chest, Nikos Legacy. No brands. No sponsor. Just the name that started it all. The EFS Academy bus rolled in loud and late, the engine coughing smoke. When the players stepped out, the contrast was obvious. Matching warm-ups, shiny shoes, even assistant coaches with clipboards. Their head coach, a tall man with a whistle that looked like it had never been used, smirked as he scanned the court. "This is the place," he said loud enough for his team to hear. "Should have brought a first aid kit." Giannis didn't flinch. He walked up, offered a handshake. The coach took it with a weak grip. "We'll give your kids a clean game," the coach said, smug. Giannis nodded. "Good. That's all they need." The teams lined up at midcourt. No anthem. No announcer. Just Giannis with the ball in hand, looking between Elias and the opposing point guard. He handed the ball to the ref, a retired teacher who used to run youth games before funding dried up. The whistle blew. Game on. Elias moved like lightning, weaving past the first defender and drawing the double team before kicking it out to Jamal in the corner. 3. Net. No rim. The crowd exploded. EFS answered quick. Their size advantage was real. Their center towered over everyone, scoring an easy bucket off a clean pick. 3-2. Giannis didn't panic. He clapped once. Back. The kids hustled. Fast rotations. Talking on defense. The way they moved, like they had something to prove and nothing to lose, rattled the academy team early. They weren't used to this kind of pressure from kids with duct-taped shoes. By halftime, the score was tied. 28-28. The crowd was stunned. The EFS coach barked at his team, red-faced. His players looked unsure for the first time. Giannis gathered his squad near the sideline. "You see it?" he asked, pointing at the other bench. They didn't think you'd last 10 minutes. Now they're sweating. You've got them playing your game. Finish it. Elias wiped sweat from his brow. Coach, they're going to come out harder. Double everything. Good, Giannis said. That means they're scared. Second half started, and EFS punched back. They pushed the pace. Their shooters found rhythm. 2 threes. A transition layup. Suddenly it was 36-28. Giannis called timeout. No yelling. Just calm. They're trying to run you off the court. You know what we do? Slow it down, Elias said. Exactly. Control tempo. Get stops. The team huddled tighter, whispered a chant Giannis didn't catch. The same one Nikos taught him as a kid. They went back out. Elias forced a turnover with a sneaky reach. Layup. 36-30. Next play, full denial defense. The EFS point guard panicked. Another turnover. Corner 3. Splash. 36-33. The crowd roared. Giannis paced the sideline. Every time the other coach screamed, his own players tightened up. Giannis didn't scream. He guided. Let them find their rhythm. With 4 minutes left, the score was 42-41. EFS up by 1. Then it happened. Elias took a hard screen and went down clutching his leg. The court fell silent. Giannis sprinted over. You good? Elias nodded through clenched teeth. I'm not coming out. You sure? He looked up. Coach Nikos said if you can stand, you play. I'm standing. Giannis helped him up. The ref gave the thumbs up. Next play, Elias drove hard, collapsed the defense, then kicked it to Layla on the wing. She hesitated for half a second, then pulled the shot. Swish. 44-42. Nikos Legacy leads. EFS responded with a bucket inside. 44-44. Final possession. Giannis didn't draw up a fancy play. He looked at Elias and just nodded. The ball was his. 10 seconds. Dribble. Cross. Step back. Pump fake. Defender bites. Elias drives baseline, jumps. Kicks it to Jamal in the corner. The same kid from the first play. Wide open. Shoots. Time freezes. The ball arcs. Perfect spin. It hits the back rim, bounces up. And drops in. 47-44. The ref blows the whistle. Game over. The court exploded. Kids ran. Fans screamed. Elias dropped to his knees, laughing through tears. Giannis didn't move. He just watched the chaos and let it wash over him. The EFS coach didn't shake hands. He left with his team, silent. But it didn't matter. No one remembered them. They remembered the kids who played with nothing but guts. The kids who wore plain shirts and dirty sneakers but left with something bigger than a trophy. Giannis walked over to the old whistle, still hanging from a nail on the fence. He blew it once. Loud. Clear. The team turned to him. He raised his hand. This court was never just concrete, he said. It was a promise. And tonight, you kept it. The kids gathered around. Elias, limping, stood front and center. Giannis pulled something from his pocket. The rest of Nikos' letter. He read it aloud. To whoever finds this, if you've made it this far, remember, the court doesn't care where you come from. But it remembers how you played. So play like someone's watching. Even if they aren't. Silence. Then applause. Pure. Earned. Giannis folded the letter and handed it to Elias. It's yours now, he said. Just don't forget who gave it to us first. Elias nodded, eyes full of something deeper than pride. The night ended with streetlights flickering over a court that would soon be gone. But not forgotten. Because for one night, it had done what it was meant to do. It had made heroes out of the unseen. A week later, the court was gone. City workers came early in the morning, just like they always do. No ceremony. No announcements. Just bulldozers and noise. They tore it apart in under 2 hours. What was left behind looked like every other abandoned lot in the neighborhood, bare dirt, some broken concrete, and the fading outline of where the rim used to stand. But something had changed. Not just in the kids. Not just in Elias. In the whole block. People talked more now. They asked about the team. They asked when the next game would be. They asked who that tall guy was coaching from the side of a street court. Giannis didn't fight the demolition. He let it happen. He'd already made the real move the night of the game, quietly buying the lot under a local development name with no press coverage. His people handled the paperwork. His money covered the cost. Nobody knew until the signs went up 3 days later. Coming soon, Coach Nikos Legacy Center. Indoor court. Open training. Free access for under 18. No ID needed. Elias saw the sign first. He sprinted to the cafe where Giannis was eating breakfast with Marcos and slammed the paper against the window. "You did it?" Elias gasped. Giannis smiled. "We did it." Elias sat across from him, still catching his breath. "I thought you were flying back to the States." "I was. But there's something I need to finish first." Giannis slid a folder across the table. Inside was a photo of Elias holding the game ball from the night they beat EFS. Next to it was a document, scholarship offer, full tuition, plus a promise, after graduation, a job offer at the new center as assistant coach. Elias stared at it like it couldn't be real. "I don't need charity," he said, barely above a whisper. "It's not," Giannis said. "It's legacy." Elias looked away, eyes glassy. Coach Nikos would have lost it. Giannis nodded. "Yeah. Probably would have said it was a waste of money. Then shown up on opening day with a whistle and a notebook." Marcos raised his coffee cup. To the ones who build without needing to be seen. They clinked glasses. The days rolled by. The lot was cleared. Foundation poured. Walls framed. Kids started showing up again, asking if they could help. Giannis let them. They swept, painted, cleaned old balls. Elias led drills on the sidewalk outside, coaching younger kids even without a hoop. One evening, Giannis stood alone on the roof of the partially built center, watching the sunset. The sky was orange. Soft. A breeze carried the smell of rain from the hills. He pulled the letter out of his pocket again. The corners were worn now. Fold lines torn slightly at the seams. There was one line he hadn't read out loud before. "If I disappear one day, don't come looking for me. Just build where I stood." He folded it again. Put it back. Behind him, footsteps approached. "Elias." "Court's almost done," he said. "Yeah. Feels fast. It always does when it matters." Elias leaned on the rail. "You leaving soon?" Giannis nodded. "Back to training camp. Season's coming." They stood in silence. "You nervous?" Elias asked. Giannis smiled. "Always." They both laughed. But this time, Giannis added, "I'm not worried. This place, what we built, it'll outlast everything I do on the court." Elias looked at the construction below. "We should name the court after him." "Officially." Giannis agreed. "Already done. It's being painted on the wall tomorrow. Big white letters, Coach Nikos Court." Elias smiled, eyes distant. He'd act annoyed. But deep down, he'd love it. "Yeah," Giannis said. He would. They watched the last of the sunlight dip behind the buildings. The next week, the court opened with no speeches. No big ribbon cutting. Just kids showing up. Just sneakers on wood. Just voices echoing off clean walls. Giannis stood on the sideline, arms crossed, same as always. No cameras. No press. Just there. Elias blew the whistle and shouted instructions to a group of 10-year-olds running their first full-court drill. He moved like a coach now, firm, patient, sharp. One of the boys missed a layup and looked embarrassed. Elias jogged over, clapped his hands once, and said, "Try again." Nobody here quits. Giannis watched with a small smile. Then he turned, walked out the back door, and disappeared into the afternoon light. No goodbyes. Just like Nikos. He didn't need a send-off. The message was already clear. Some people play to be remembered. Others play to make sure others never get forgotten. And somewhere, far beyond the sound of bouncing balls and sneakers squeaking on hardwood, a coach without a country was smiling. Because his court still stood. And it always would.